Visual novels are more than ever easier to get into. However, there's a few things that most people don't mention about them. Here are 5 visual novel tips I wish I knew when I started reading VNs. And we're gonna start off with a pretty important one, given how niche certain titles are. Tip number 1, 18+ patches. Now, if you're reading a Japanese visual novel, more specifically an eroge, there's a very high chance that an 18+ patch for the game exists. You might be asking, why doesn't the game already have it built in? Well, because in order to be listed on Steam, the game has to pass Steam's approval for sensitive content. And since eroge has this stuff built into the story, publishers have to cut content in order for it to get approved, leading to 18+ patches that have to be downloaded on external sites. 18+ patches not only adds in the uncensored content, but also adds in the more mature elements that would have potentially triggered Steam's sensitive content filter. This goes beyond just 18+ scenes too. There are cases where you are missing out on character routes or even a big portion of the story if you don't have the patch. There's a way to naturally avoid having to go through the process of installing the 18+ patch, but that's a tip saved for later in the video. Next up, tip number 2, VNDB, or the Visual Novel Database. VNDB is a must-know resource for anyone looking into visual novels. This database classifies every visual novel based on genre, staff information, and even the type of content they contain. You want horror? Here's a tag with the many other subtags of the different types of horror. You want to know what visual novels Jun Maeda, the creator of Clannad, has worked on? Check out his staff page and his specific contributions. You want to look for a character with a very specific characteristic or does a very specific action? It's got that too. VNDB provides a lot of user-provided information, including user voting scores, reviews, and screenshots. You can also see how visual novels are rated among other ones too. This is actually how I gathered the data for my video on the highest rated visual novels of all time. Additionally, users can maintain a personalized list to keep track of the visual novels they've completed, like a My Anime list or any list, but for visual novels specifically. VNDB is pretty much an essential website for any reader out there, and I encourage using it to find something you're looking for. Now for this next one, not many people know of this useful software. Tip number 3, using Magpie. Magpie is a graphic upscaling tool. It takes any application window and upscales it to a full screen view with minimal detail loss and blur. Using it with visual novels allows you to upscale visual novel graphics to a much higher resolution and quality. You can take your 720p resolution visual novels and make them more visually crisp. It's super simple to set up and use too. I typically use Magpie on 720p resolution visual novels like I said, but also 4:3 resolution visual novels. I really like Magpie because I prefer sharper graphics. I don't like it when the visual novel gets slightly blurred when the resolution gets raised. It's also a way for a visual novel to be full screen without it actually being in full screen mode. Some visual novels will actually lock your cursor to the game in full screen mode and will actually prevent you from accessing other applications. But with Magpie, I can easily do that. Check the description down below for a link to Magpie and more information on it. Now this next one is a simple tip, a very obvious one, but great for saving money. Tip number 4, seasonal sales. The best time to buy visual novels is whenever a sale happens, and the best opportunities are the seasonal ones, and the rare visual novel fest if Steam ever decides to do that specific sale ever again. Not only are prices marked down, but these sales also have really good bundle prices for popular series like Ace Attorney, Danganronpa, and my personal favorite recommendation, the Utawada Remono trilogy. You can get really good visual novels for super cheap, or 100+ hour visual novels for a much cheaper price, making it well worth your money. I might do a video later on visual novels that are definitely worth buying on sale, but the ones to watch out for are Studio Keys, Science Adventure Games, and Higurashi/Umineko. And lastly, a pretty persuasive tip for number 5, buying visual novels on the publisher's store. You might not know it, but you are actually more restricted when buying visual novels on Steam. Purchasing directly from the publisher's store, like JAS USA, Manga Gamer, Denpasoft, and Joran, has offerings that buying from Steam does not. No DRM restrictions, no additional launchers required, no internet access needed, and built-in 18+ content. Remember what I said about tip number 1? You don't need to manually patch the game if you're buying it directly from them instead of on Steam. Some stores even provide limited time goods and physical copies of popular visual novels. JAS USA has the collector edition box set of Full Metal Demon Muramasa and Tokyo Necro, and Manga Gamer has hard copies of Umineko, Rance, and the House of Fata Morgana. Kana. There's also one store in particular that has an exclusive visual novel that you can't get anywhere else. Not on Steam, not on Jazz or Manga Gamer either. And that's Joran's Meteor World Actor, a urban superpower detective visual novel that won the award for my personal favorite visual novel in 2021. Overall, buying from these stores just allows you to support the publisher directly, and the more money we send their way, the more titles they can bring over. And those were 5 visual novel tips I wish I knew starting out. All of this information was me being around the VN community over a long period of time, so I hope this information helps you out if you're starting to get into the medium. If you've been around for a while, leave a tip for newcomers. Now, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my Patreon if you want to further support what I do here. And lastly, this video is actually also a reference to this video over here, so I recommend watching that one next.